If you're always trying to think of ideas to help keep your children busy and happy over the holidays or at the weekend, our budget advisor, Julie Bates, may have some suggestions for you today. Julie, we have got so much stuff here, haven't we? Now, these ideas are really for 10 and under.
Yeah, for 10 and under. Although you might get a few 11. If you know your child and what they want to do, and you plan early enough, you can source stuff for a 12-year-old to make a kite. Or,
things like that.
Yeah.
Now, first stop? The library.
First stop, the library, for books that you can get for, well,
now
for
we've
doing
got
anything.
The Incredible Holiday Activity book. Books like that, yep. And that gives you all sorts of arts and crafts and things. Paper mache.
Paper mache. Paper mache, I think, is one that's very underrated. You can do a lot with paper mache.
And we've got one more coming up here. 100 incredible things to make, do and play. So the number one thing is get to your library, have a look what they've got.
Get to the library and get there sort of a few weeks earlier so that you can actually decide what you're going to do and what you'll need so that it's not just a big outlay at the beginning of the holidays. You can pick it up, you know, 3-4 weeks beforehand and get other people collecting for you. My mother-in-law lives by the beach and she's collected feathers and I don't know if you can see...
Oh, some shells in here.
And she's collected little ones, not great big ones,
so
but
you can actually
tiny little ones
on.
for sticking onto artwork. So she just sends them to me whenever she's collected enough.
Now, what are your best ideas for the arts and crafts?
Well, as I said, paper mache. My kids just love paper mache, and even the 16-year-old has done paper mache from, you know, early. She's not that keen on it now. But we made Skittles, which is just using... This one here is one that's been covered in newspaper because you can't paint them. You can't decorate the plastic. So that one's just a milk bottle, a 1-litre milk bottle. We've got one that's decorated in I think that's a shampoo bottle. And they line them up at the end of the hallway and the tennis balls go flying and they're all...
So they can make... So one job is to actually make them, next job they can actually play with them and...
That's it. And it takes a couple of days because you have to allow it to dry. And then making masks out of a paper mache balloon. And the glue for that is just flour and water, sort of half a cup of flour to a cup of water, and it does a multitude of stuff. And newspapers, well, we all get newspapers delivered free and junk mail, so that's quite a good one. But you can also use it to decorate anything. Another good activity that my kids like is Play-Doh. But this one is salt dough. You actually bake it in the oven.
Oh, okay, and you can make little things out of it.
They made a little magnet.
Oh, this is lovely too.
The recipe for that is actually in the Littlies magazine, and they've got various things that they've made.
And where do we find this magazine? I know we touched on it last week.
It's free at your Amcal chemist, but they've made a necklace using beads.
Wow.
And you just bake it at a low temperature for, well, as long as it takes. The thicker your object is, the longer it needs to bake.
Now, money-wise, what are we talking here?
Well, if you're picking it up, if you know what you're buying and you're picking it up a little bit at a time, it's not going to be a huge outlay. But if you're going to pick up, say, flour and salt and water, probably around $20 will get you enough to last you a year's worth of holidays.
So let's look at the budget here. We've got 1.5 kilos of flour. We've got a kilo of salt, food colouring, cream of tartar, oil. What's the oil for?
It just makes the Play-Doh a little bit slicker and the craft, the salt dough, just a little bit, I think it adds elasticity to it.
So we've got the bottles, well, we can just collect ones that we've...
Whatever's around.
And newspapers, of course, and junk mail, as you said. And the craft items, we're talking any craft shop, we can go and get little bits and pieces, and it all looks like it's under $20, $16.
Yeah.
And you reckon that will last a whole year of activities?
Well, a good way of getting your craft gear together is, if you've only got the $5, I've put $5 in, is to get together with a friend or two, and if you've each got $5 or $10, then your spending power is higher, and then you can divvy it up between 3 of you, and everybody's got, well, a fantastic selection of craft that they can pull out. And there's just keeping things from when somebody gets given flowers.
And we've got...
When they throw the flowers away, whip off the outside of it. And
and we've got little stickers you can buy at the $2 shop or whatever.
Stickers, you get heaps of them for a very low price. The string of when you buy shoes and the elastic for masks.
Keep those.
Keep those,
We've got gorgeous coloured feathers here.
Yeah, the wrappers of lolly wrappers. There's a few in there. Any boxes that you get around the place. Magazines. Anything that you can use to cut something out, stick it on a...
Now, also, you say, like you say, you can share these costs with friends, and of course, to give yourself a break, you could go round to a friend's house, drop the kids off.
That's a good one. Arrange to have their kids, and then you can give them yours, and each caregiver gets even half a day of just sit and read a magazine and drink a cup of coffee or put the house back together from last week's.
Now, you're a younger one. What have you done with them in the last week for arts and crafts?
We have, for arts and crafts, we've done the salt dough. We've had Play-Doh out. They've done Skittles. We've done...
Any baking in the kitchen?
Oh, yes.
Pikelets. They love to do pikelets, don't they?
Pikelets is a scary one because she keeps wanting to put a hand on the stove to see what's happening. But, yes, pikelets. She's getting very good at flipping pikelets. We made bread yesterday.
And that's really cheap to do because you just need flour, a bit of sugar, and then you just need your jam.
That's perfect. And that works really well. No, baking is a good one, especially for older kids too. It could be time to teach them how to bake.
Sounds great. Thanks for coming in, Julie. We'll see you next week.